Disney games. When they're done right, they can be some of the most, dare I say it, magical games you can possibly play. And with a certain major release coming out at the end of this month, I figured this was the best time to show you the 10 best games to bear the Disney name. So hey, I'm Nervous Nick for the Nose Top 10 Disney games.
Number 10.
I get the feeling that a lot of you guys didn't even know that this game existed. The Nightmare Before Christmas should be standard viewing for every Halloween and Christmas, and while I wouldn't say that Oogie's Revenge on PS2 and Xbox is quite as crucial to experience, it still ain't half bad. Strangely enough, Oogie's Revenge is straight up Tim Burton's Devil May Cry, yet in a weird way, it kinda works. This game straight up feels like you dove right into the world of the film. I especially love how it's got original music that's so spot on, it might as well have been in the actual source material. But Oogie's Revenge is one of those games that's probably better played by those who really love the movie, because I don't see how anybody else could tolerate Jack's endless shouts of
Toll robber! 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 Toll robber!
Number 9.
So it's about the year 2010 and you're scrolling through random gaming news articles and this nightmare shows up on your screen. To say the least, from the moment I first saw it, I was intrigued by Warren Spector's Epic Mickey. Even though the final game wasn't nearly this frightening, it still turned out to be a flawed but fun take on old school Disney. And that's what I loved most about it. It takes place in the cartoon wasteland, which is a sort of demented Disneyland where all of Disney's forgotten characters wind up. Topping the list of characters jealous of Mickey's success is Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and if you know anything about the origins of Disney, that name probably sounds familiar. Mickey wields a paintbrush equipped with paint and thinner, which lets him both add and remove things from the world around him to navigate environments and fight enemies. Epic Mickey's got some pretty clever ideas, but it never runs with them as far as you wish it would, so it's only going in at number 9.
Number 8.
Even if you've never seen Fantasia, you definitely know this scene. Almost 75 years later, the studio that invented Guitar Hero, Rock Band, and Dance Central brought this animated classic to life with Fantasia Music Evolved. With your Xbox One's Kinect, you can use your arms to summon the magic of music, just as Mickey did in the old school cartoon. But while you're aiming for your best score, just like any rhythm game worth actually having a rhythm in, Fantasia lets you build your own custom mix of whatever song you're playing on the fly. That could be anything from classic Tchaikovsky to Bruno Mars to David Bowie to Nicki Minaj. But no matter what you're conducting, Fantasia Music Evolved is one of the purest and simplest pleasures on this list. Just like any good Disney game should be.
Number 7.
Maybe some 90s kids discovered games at friends' houses or at Blockbuster or just getting them for Christmas at random, but I'll bet not too many of you found out about games by playing them at your local grocery store. The Kroger that my parents used to shop at had this little kiddie daycare thing where they would dump me off so they wouldn't have to parent me for 30 minutes. And it was in that daycare that I discovered the greatness that was The Lion King for Sega Genesis. Yeah, it was also on DOS and Super Nintendo, but I never played those versions. I could never get past the can't wait to be king level as a kid, but this game was a blast regardless. Most of the time when you play a movie tie-in game, it only exists to make a quick buck and feels like no effort was put into it. But with The Lion King, all the animations are so smooth, the music is really catchy, and even the level design feels rightfully inspired by the movie it's based on. And while we're talking about animated Disney movies from the 90s...
Number 6.
Whether you played Aladdin on SNES or Genesis, you were playing one of Disney's best games. As if Disney wanted to fuel the console wars even more, these were actually 2 different games, but one gotta go. This ain't a choice I can make lightly, but we gotta go with Aladdin for SNES. Even though it's not a bad thing that Aladdin carries this no-reason sword in the Genesis version, it does make that one a little more combat-centric. Meanwhile, on SNES, everyone's favorite Street Rats acrobatics are front and center in a game crammed full of satisfying platforming. Except for the lava level. This part can go die. Besides, this version was made by Capcom, the masters of 16-bit Disney games back in the day. Was there really any doubt?
Number 5.
The whole Skylanders fad may not seem as strong now as it was just a couple years ago, but Disney's version of that whole trend was still top 10 worthy. Disney Infinity can take even the most boring, grown-up-inest adult and transport them back to a simpler time. By hooking up different play sets and toys, you can play through these open-world stories set in your favorite Disney locales. Toy Story, Star Wars, Marvel, Pirates of the Caribbean, the Lone Ranger if you're in that demographic, whatever that demographic is. Basically, it's the best part of video games with the free-form fun of playing with a childhood toy. Things only get more imaginative with a toy box mode, which lets you mix and match any toy and playset combination you want and even come up with your own games to play. Disney Infinity really brings out everyone's inner child the way anything with a Disney name should. Plus, hey, now that Disney killed their cash cow for seemingly no reason, you can find all this crap for dirt cheap. So go ahead and support a dead game knowing that you saved a quick buck in the long run.
Number 4.
You know, as much as I love my fighting games, I'm actually more of a co-op guy at heart. As far as Disney games go, you're not gonna find a better two-player adventure than, of all things, Goof Troop. Goof Troop is kind of along the lines of those top-down Zelda games. Instead of being able to carry 2 items at once like you do in single-player mode though, Goof Troop's 2-player mode splits that carrying capacity between you and a friend. It's a simple little tweak that basically turns it into a whole new game. It's one of those co-op games where communication really is key to solving puzzles. Like, you've got to strategize which one of you is going to carry the plank of wood to cross the little river, and which one of you is actually going to have fun. Still, there aren't many games quite like Goof Troop, and all these years later, it's still its own unique flavor of co-op.
Number 3.
Hey, guess what? We're still not done with Capcom games on this list because in the 90s, Capcom and Disney went together so well, like peanut butter and chocolate. Another fantastic example, the Magical Quest starring Mickey Mouse. Magical Quest is kind of like a tamer, Disney-skinned Mega Man in a way. Mickey can switch between 4 outfits that give him different upgradable powers. He can charge up magic in his magician costume, spray water with the firefighter uniform, throw a grappling hook using the mountain climbing gear, or put a new spin on some enemies while rocking the classic shirtless look. It was a mechanic that was both a perfect callback to all the roles Mickey took on in his cartoons, and a fun gameplay choice to let you tackle levels the way you wanted. In other words, it's one of the best blends of Disney and gaming we've seen yet.
Number 2.
I know I just said it, but it bears repeating because it's about to be incredibly relevant, but Capcom made a lot of the best Disney games. You got DuckTales, the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers games, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, the list goes on. But why take up more than half of this top 10 with all of those games when we could just put the Disney Afternoon collection here instead? For the price of one set of Mickey Mouse ears, you can nab 6 classic games all in one compilation. Tailspin was alright, Darkwing Duck was a solid platformer overall, the Chip and Dale games are classic co-op greats, and DuckTales is... come on, it's DuckTales. It's an all-time platforming masterpiece. Almost every game in the Disney Afternoon collection is top 10 worthy on their own, but this collection is pushed over the top because the sum of all this greatness is more than any single game. Besides, it's got DuckTales. What more reason do you need?
It's number 1.
Surprising a grand total of literally no one, this series needed to be the number 1 Disney game. And that's not just because of a certain major release this January 2019 that inspired this list to begin with. Blending Final Fantasy with all the different Disney worlds was as kooky of an idea as it sounded when it was pitched back in the late 90s, early 2000s, but it's hard to imagine a world without Kingdom Hearts. There are so many great games to choose from in that series alone, but the one that tops them all is Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. It's arguably got the best selection of Disney universes to date, personal opinion, got better gameplay than the original, and it's unquestionably one of the best PS2 games ever made. If you want to be immersed in the wonderful world of Disney, Kingdom Hearts 2 is the game to get. But more importantly than all the memorable characters and the voice acting and all the wonderful music, I still can't get over the scene where Goofy dies and Edgy Mouse here swears to kill everyone.
They'll pay for this.
That never gets old. And for our secret number 11, it's a game so nice we gotta add it twice. DuckTales Remastered took the beloved game I gushed about earlier and gave it a crap ton of upgrades. It's the same great game underneath, but the visuals are all hand-drawn, everyone is voiced by the original cast of the cartoon, and for the first time, you can actually dive into Scrooge's money bin.